welcome to the teaching learning session of sociology. In today's lecture, we'll discuss about research in social sciences. In our last lecture, we discussed about the various methods. We discussed our last topic was phenomenology. Today, we'll start with symbolic interactionism. What is symbolic interactionism? Symbolic interactionism advocates that the meaning emerges through the process of interaction. That is interpretation of interaction, interpreting the meaning of the actions done by the actors. It views social life as a process in which the individual interprets his environment and acts on the basis of its interpretation. Whenever we do something, first of all, we try to understand the situation around us. We interpret our environment, and according to environment, we take actions. Right? This is social interactionism. That is, individual interprets his environment and acts on the basis of his interpretation. There are two important concepts in this theory: the definition of situation and the social self. It consists two parts. First is the definition of the situation. What is situation? As I told you, symbolic interactionism is the analysis or interpretation of the situation. So the definition of the situation, what is situation, and the second part is the social self. The definition of situation means that the idea of people's action are shaped more by subjective meaning given to their situation than by purely objective aspect of the situation. That is, it includes the subjective meaning of the situation rather than the objective meaning of the situation, objective aspect of the situation. So according to this theory, subjective aspect is more important in social sciences research rather than the objective research. The social self. What is social self? The second part of the definition, the second part of the social interactionism is the social self. It is a result of dialects of I and me. We discussed this theory. Action and interaction is a part of process. We do not simply act, but we act on basis how we define the situation and how we think others will view our action. Whenever I we take some action, we first of all what we do is we interpret our situation, we define our situation, and then on the basis of our situation we take action. And the second part which we consider while we take any action or before we take any action is what how people will view our action, whether it is acceptable in the society or not. Right? This is social interactionism. Now let us discuss the characteristic of qualitative research. There are certain characteristics of qualitative research. First is a subject's perspective. The most important characteristic of qualitative research is that it sees events, actions, norms, values from the point of view of people being studied. Therefore, it becomes important for the researcher to spend long time in the field. In this, the people or the population under study is very important. Their values, their norms, their events, their actions are considered very important. And if you want to study any population or if you want to study any society properly, then it is very important for the researcher to spend time with in that society or with the subject under study. Then only you can come to know about why they do, what is the reason for their festivals, why they are celebrating certain types of festival, what is the meaning of their customs, and why do perform certain actions. Then only you can understand their values. If you are not involved, if the researcher didn't involve with if the researcher don't involve with the subject under studied, then he will not be able to generalize the results of his study. Second characteristic is description. One of the very essential characteristic is to describe the social setting that is being studied in greater details. It helps us to understand what is happening in a particular context and gives a hint to realities. Third characteristic is context of qualitative research is context. Qualitative research entails that we understand the social entities as the whole in their entirely. It is very important to understand the entities of this society. Then only you can understand the society properly. The implication of context is that the meaning people give to their own behavior have to be seen in the context of the norms and values, beliefs and practices, and underlying structure of appropriate entity, as well as multiple perceptions that spread. Why it is important to study the context? Because how people behave in a society totally depends on their values, their beliefs, their practices, and the underlying structure of their entities. So it is very important to understand the social entities if you want to study any society properly. Next is dynamic social life. Qualitative research views social life as a process and not in static term. According to qualitative research, that the social life changes, it evolves from one form to another, so it is dynamic in nature. It looks at social life as a series of events, so tends to emphasis on changes. Series it looks social life as a series of events which changes with time, so it is dynamic in nature. The emphasis on process is a response to qualitative researcher concerns to reflect the reality of everyday life, which they tend to argue takes the form of stream of interconnecting events. All events are interconnecting. Why people perform certain rituals or why do take certain actions, every actions, everything is interconnected in the society. So and it changes with change in the environment and with change in the society. So dynamic social life is the another characteristic of qualitative research, that it is not static. Next characteristic is flexible and lack of structure. Qualitative research is open and unstructured and do not seem to decide what to study beforehand. When you become the part of that society, then only you can decide what to study. First of all, it is very important to understand that society, then only you can interpret, and then only you can find out why, what is the reason behind the certain rituals, customs, or the actions. So it is open type of a research, and you cannot decide what to study beforehand. Because of this, proponents of qualitative research argue that it allows them to access to unexpected but important topics. But because of this, you can explore the unexpected but very important topics. Theories and concepts. Qualitative research rejects the formulation of theories and concepts in advance at the beginning of their studies. It favored testing of theories and concept in tandem with fieldwork finding. Qualitative research rejects the formulation of theories and concept beforehand, right? But it favors testing of theories and concepts in tandem with fieldwork finding. Uh, Qualitative research basically emphasis on the field work. Field work means there are two types of the researches: armchair research and the field work research. Armchair research is when you sit in your office and go through the various literature, and on the basis of that literature you can um you can generate the results of your research. That is the armchair type of uh, uh, research. But fieldwork research is very important. Fieldwork research is when you get involved, when you become the part of the society which is under study. That is the fieldwork. That type of research is known as the fieldwork research. So qualitative research favors the testing of theories and concepts in tandem with the fieldwork findings, right? Nature of quantitative research. As I told you earlier, there are two types of the research: qualitative research and the quantitative research. We discussed about the characteristics of the qualitative research. Now, quantitative research. What is the nature of quantitative research? Quantitative research exhibits many qualities of natural sciences approach. That is, um, it inherits many of the qualities from the natural sciences. It is associated with number of different methods of data collections. There are various methods of data collections in quantitative research. Surveys and experiment are the main method of quantitative research. Surveys and experiments are the two main methods of quantitative research, although there are many other methods. Analysis of previously collected data, like the official statistics. The Kim analysis of suicide statistic is often treated and is an example of this tradition. That is, when you analyze the previously in the quantitative research, you can analyze the data previously collected by some other organization, right? On the basis of the data of some other organization, you can carry out your quantitative research. The best example is that Durkheim's work on suicide. Durkheim worked on this suicide, as we discussed about his work on suicide. uh, uh, he uh, he analyzed the data of suicide collected by the other organization, and then he interpreted the result, and he has uh, given the reason for the suicide and the types of suicide. Next is observation, structured observation, whereby the researcher records observation according to the predetermined schedule and quantify the resulting data. In this, there is a predetermined schedule. How researcher will collect the data. It is predetermined, it is predefined, and according to the predetermined schedule, a researcher records the observations, collects the data, and then quantify the resulting data. And then he quantify that data. In quantitative analysis, it is very important to quantify the data. Data should be in numbers. It should be in quantity, right? While in qualitative data, it is not required. Next is content analysis. The quantitative analysis of the communication content of media such as newspaper. Next is the positivist position. What was the positivist position? Many of the founding father of the sociology believed that sociology could be based on the principles and procedure of natural sciences. This is the premise of positivism. We discussed it in our earlier lecture. Positivism, according to positivist sociologist, right? That we can study society. We can study society on the basis on the um, uh, um, procedure of natural sciences, right? We can apply those methods of natural sciences on social sciences. This was the premise of the positivism, right? Auguste Comte, the father of sociology, believed that the application of method of natural sciences would produce a positive science of society, and this could reveal that the evolution of society followed the invariable laws. According to Auguste Comte, we can apply the procedures or methods of natural sciences on social sciences. He has given name to social sciences for was he had given the name of positive science of society to the sociology. It would show that behavior of men was governed by the principle of cause and effect, which were just as invariable as the behavior of matter, the subject of natural sciences. According to the positivist, that we can find out the cause and effect relationship, causal relationship. We can find out the causal relationship in the society. If some event is happening, there must be a reason behind it, cause behind it, and what is the effect of that cause or the reason. We can study the relationship of this cause and effect relationship as we can study the cause and effect relationship in natural sciences. So according to positivists, or positivism is what, that we can apply the laws of natural sciences and social sciences studies, and we can find out the cause and effect relationship in social sciences research as we can do in natural sciences, right? There are certain assumption of positivist approach. The first is that behavior of men, like the behavior of matter, can be objectively measured. Objectivity was one of the assumption of positivist. Why? Because in natural sciences, objectivity is the foremost characteristic of natural sciences research. So according to positivist, the behavior of men can be objectively measured, just as the behavior of matter can be quantified by measures such as weight, temperature, pressure. Method of objective measurement can be devised for human behavior. According to positivist, we can measure the behavior of a man, and we can quantify that too, as we can quantify the natural sciences data. Second is emphasis on behavior that can be directly observed. Positivist, or they emphasized on the behavior that can be directly observed. It argues that factors which are not directly observed, such as meanings, feelings, emotions, purpose, are not particularly important and can be misleading. Understand that according to positivist, we can study the human behavior objectively. Second, they argued that the factors which are not directly observed, such as the emotions, feelings, meanings, are not at all important, and this could be misleading. And next is this emphasis on the observable behavior is largely due to the belief that human can be explained in much the same way the behavior of matter. According to positivist, we can explain the human behavior as in the same way as we can explain the behavior of matter. It means that those phenomena which are not observable directly or indirectly are considered to produce a valid knowledge. This means that knowledge is derived through verified facts. Knowledge derived through verified fact helps in building theories. Next is positivism is also often taken to require a particular stance in relation to values. This could be understood in two ways. See, there are certain facts, there are these certain points about the positivism. They, according to positivist, we can study human nature objectively as we can study natural sciences, natural matter. Second is phenomena which we cannot directly observe, such as feelings, emotions. They are not important. It could be misleading, right? Third is we can build here, we can produce the facts, we can study. If we study the human nature objectively, we can uh, study the fact, we'll come to know about the fact, and on the basis of fact we can develop or build the theories, right? And the last point is it is often taken to require a particular stance in relation to. First, the scientist should eradicate all his values which may impair his objectivity. So, undermine the validity of knowledge. This is very important. If you want to study anything objectively, it is very important for the researcher to be unbiased. They should shed off or they should eradicate all their values, all their perceptions. And then only you can study the subject unbiasedly and objectively. Second is to draw a sharp distinction between the scientific issues and statement on the one hand and normative ones on the another hand. That there should be a distinction between the scientific issues and the normative issues, right? Some preoccupations of quantitative research, concepts and their measurement. Concepts provide the central focus of research, but they are loosely related to the theoretical consideration. Concepts are very important to carry out any research. They are the central focus of any research. So, concepts are very important. But these concepts are loosely related to theoretical considerations. To test causal process, a researcher needs to associate these concepts with another. If you want to understand the causal relationship between the events, it is very important for the researcher to associate, to interlink these concepts with one another. There could be n number of concepts, and if you really want to analyze the relationship between the concept, the causal relationship, cause and effect relationship, then it is very important to find out the relationship or associate the concepts with one another. Therefore, the social world is broken into composite parts like social class, race, racial prejudice, caste discrimination, religion, etc. All these are the concepts and they are interlinked with each other. If you want to study about the caste discrimination, it is very important to understand the other concepts like religion, like caste, prejudices, racial, and other concepts. And there should be try to understand the link between these concepts. And next is causality. Quantitative research is preoccupied with establishing the causal relationship between concepts. In quantitative research, it is very important. The important part about the quantitative research is to define the causal relationship between the concepts. Karan Karan ka Siddhant. The use of independent and dependent variable shows the tendency to the causal imagination during investigation. Now, what is a variable? First of all, understand what is variable. Variable under any variable is anything which is dynamic, which is not static. The values of variable changes with time, right? Your action changes with this situation. Your actions are dynamic. Stress. See, stress is a variable. It changes with the situation, it changes with the time. Job satisfaction. It could be a variable because job satisfaction changes with times or variable. There are two types of variable as I have written in this slide, dependent variable and independent variable. What is dependent variable and what is independent variable? Dependent variable is that variable which depends on another variable, and independent variable is that variable which doesn't depend on other variable. They are free from another variable. Like if I want to find out the relationship, if I want to find out the relationship, say between the job satisfaction and the commitment, organizational commitment, right? Say if if my theory or my concept says, if employee is satisfied with the job, then only he or she would be committed to the organization. So commitment depends on the satisfaction. The higher the level of job satisfaction, the higher the level of the commitment of the employee towards the organization. So commitment, organizational commitment depends on another variable. So this is dependent and independent variable. And in quantitative research, it is very important to use dependent and independent variable. Why it is important? Just to show the tendency to use causal imagination during investigation. If you really want to find out the causal relationship, then only you can find out in this way only. The two main approaches used to generate causality is associated with experimental and cross-sectional social survey research design, right? There are the two approaches to generate this causality type of the research: experimental and cross-sectional surveys. Internal validity helps to cancel all other alternative explanation related to the causal relationship between variable. Hypotheses are not derived from the theories but from doing literature review related to the concept. What is hypothesis? First of all, understand what is hypothesis. Hypothesis is nothing but a statement, or in easier word, if I could say, that is the perception of the researcher, right? If my perception is that the organizational, let me take the example again of job satisfaction and the commitment. If my perception is that the job organizational commitment is positively related with the job satisfaction, right, of the employee, if it means that if employee is satisfied with the job, then only he or she could be committed to the organization, right? So this is my perception. It could be right or wrong. This is just a statement that is known as the hypothesis. Then the researcher needs to check this hypothesis, retest this hypothesis, and then only can conclude whether this hypothesis or the statement is correct or not. And the hypotheses are not derived from the theories but from the literature review relating to the concept. It is derived from the concepts, right? And then you can develop a theory from this. The positivist leaning of quantitative research strongly reveal that the concept have to be made observable, that is measurable. According to positivist, it is very important that you should be able to observe and measure the concept, that you could quantify the concept. Quantification is very important. It is also necessary that we have a definition of concept so that it can be measured and can and a precise standard is developed to know its presence or absence. The measurement of concept is done with the help of tools like questionnaire or structured observation. How can you measure the concept? How can you quantify job satisfaction or stress or commitment? How could you measure the concept? You can measure the concept with the help of the tools. There are various tools like questionnaires, observations, structured observations, surveys, interviews, right? So you can measure the concept with the tools like questionnaires, structured observations, interviews. Next is generalization. Generalization, the quantitative research is concerned to establish that the result of a particular research can be generalized beyond the confines of the research location. What is generalization means? Generalization of the finding or of the research means that you can generalize the results, that those results you can apply those results to a greater part of the society. It is not confined to the research location. Suppose if you have studied a specific location, a specific part, okay, you have selected a population of a particular region, and then you studied a particular population of a particular region, and you can, if you can generalize your finding, if your finding can be applied to other parts of the society, that is known as the generalization of finding. That is, the results are not confined to that particular area under study, but you can apply those results, that is applicable to the larger society. That is the generalization of results, and it is very important that you should be able to generalize your result. If it is not, then the result is of no use or is of less importance. This preoccupation is manifest itself in a great deal of attention being paid to sampling issues, and in particular the representativeness of a sample. Understand this concept clear, uh, important. This preoccupation is manifest itself in a great deal of attention being paid to the sampling issues, and in particularly the representativeness of the samples. If you want to generalize your results, that the sampling is very important. What is sampling? You cannot study the whole population, you just pick up few samples from the population, and you study those samples, and then only can find or generalize the result, and then only can carry out your research. There are because why you cannot study the whole population? There are many limitations. Time could be a limitation, cost could be a limitation, resources could be a limitation. So sampling is very important. Whenever you are selected certain sample from the population under study, it is very important that sample you should choose a correct number of samples and the correct type of the samples. In quantitative research, sampling is very important. If your sampling consideration or if your sampling calculation is not correct, you cannot generalize your results, right? Your results could be questionable, and that those sample should be a representative of the population, of the whole population, that the numbers of samples should be correctly calculated, and the sample which you are choosing for your study should represent the whole population under study. So sampling is very important. Next is a replication. The replication of established finding is often taken to be a characteristic of natural sciences. Replication can provide a means of checking the extent to which findings are applicable to other contexts. This is, we can check and recheck our findings whether it is applicable to other contexts or not. Or can we replicate our findings to other society? So this is replication. Few quantitative researchers subscribes to a view that research can be value free. Therefore, replication can act as a check on any excess use of value judgment. Quantitative research, it is very important that in quantitative research that researcher should be unbiased or value free. Then only you can study your subject under study objectively. If researcher is not value free, is not unbiased, then you cannot objectively study your subject. Next is individualism. Quantitative research tends to treat the individual as the focus of empirical inquiry. The focus on individuals is derived because survey instruments are administered to the individual as a discrete object of inquiry. Their response are then aggregated to form overall measures for this sample. Individualism, quantitative research, individuals are important because you administer your survey instrument to the individual and then take their responses and then quantify their responses, and then only you can measure your sample. Suppose if you have chosen 100 samples, then you administer your sample, your tool. Suppose your tool is questionnaire 2, you distribute your questionnaire to those 100 samples which you have selected for your study, and when they you get response from those samples, then only you can quantify their responses, and then only you can measure and carry out your research. So individualism is important in quantitative research. This individualism in quantitative research arises due to its technique of investigation, which use the individual as a source of data largely independently of other individual. Why it is important? Because because of the technique of investigation, it uses the individual as a source of data. Every individual is a source of data. Because of the techniques of the quantitative research, individuals are important, and largely, and each individual is independent of other individual, right? So it is very important. So in quantitative research, objectivity is very important. That there should be a well defined objective, right? There are certain methods and the techniques which you could apply to collect the data, like your tools like questionnaire, observations, surveys, structured surveys, right, interviews. These are the tools, and you can administer these tools to the various samples or the population under study, right? And now, after getting the response from those samples, it is very important to quantify that data, and then only you can analyze your results. So quantification of data is very important. There are certain things that the sampling, because the sampling should be correct, sample size should be correct, and that sample size should represent the whole population. It should be a representative of the whole population. And in qualitative research, that this quantifying of data is not important. For researcher, objectivity is not important. According to qualitative, in qualitative research, subjectivity is important. A researcher should become the part of the subject under study, part of that society which he or she wants to study, and then should understand the reasons, their customs, their actions, their values, and then only they can analyze and interpret the data according to the qualitative research. Values, beliefs, emotions are very important, but as per the quantitative research, these values, beliefs, emotions could mislead the these are not important and could mislead the researcher. right? So in quantitative research you can quantify your data, in qualitative research you cannot quantify your data. In quantitative research objectivity is important, in qualitative research subjectivity is important, right? In quantitative research various tools and techniques are there, although tools and techniques are also there, but in this the researcher become the part of the society under study, right? And in quantitative research it is important, in quantitative research researchers select certain samples from the population under study, while in qualitative research it is not required, it is not mandatory. Theory and research. Theory has an important role in research and it is indispensable for research. The influence of theory is found to be more profound in explanatory than in descriptive research. A research that theory is more important in explanatory research rather than the descriptive research. There are various types of researchers. Research plays an important role in advancing the theoretical knowledge, either by adding to the existing knowledge or by falsifying the existing knowledge on a particular topic, or by bringing into existence the new knowledge on the unexplored domain. See, both theory and research are interconnected. To carry out research, theory plays an important role, right? It is indispensable for research, right? And research plays an important role in advancing the theoretical knowledge. How it plays an important role, how research plays an important role in theory, it plays an important role. Either the research falsify the results of the theory, falsifies the theory, or it adds on the new knowledge to the existing knowledge on a particular topic, or by bringing into existing a new knowledge of an unexplored domain. What is theory? Theory refers to a relationship between the facts or to the ordering of them in some meaningful way. What is theory? The relationship between the facts or the order of the facts is theory. Theory serves to order and give a meaning to the facts. Theory gives the meanings to the fact. We derive the facts from the concepts, and when these concepts are put in an order, this is known as theory. When there is a relationship between the fact, it is known as the relationship between the established relationship between the fact is known as theory. It gives the meanings to the facts. Theory gives a meaning to the facts. When facts are ordered, assembled, and seen in a relationship, they constitute a theory. When the facts are ordered, assembled, and seen in a relationship, they constitute a theory. An ordered fact is known as theory. The facts in a theory may be analyzed logically, and relationship other than those stated in theory can be deduced. Such deduction can be termed as hypothesis. The facts in a theory may be analyzed logically. You can analyze those facts logically. You can analyze what is the relationship between the fact, and the relationship stated in the theory can be deduced, and this deduced is known as hypothesis. Hypothesis is nothing but the statement. Hypothesis needs to be verified. This is just a statement and it is needs to be verified. When it is successfully verified, it becomes a part of the further theoretical construction. When It becomes when it is successfully verified. If you have given a statement, if you have given a hypothesis that there is a relationship between two variables, and if you can verify it, and if this statement verified successfully, then this becomes a part of the theory. The theory and hypothesis enjoys a very close relationship. As I told you, that statement is hypothesis is there is a relationship between a positive relationship between the job satisfaction and the commitment. If you can verify this statement, then it will become a part of the theory. So it enjoys a close relationship. This theory and hypothesis enjoys a close relationship. Almost all research involves some theory. Being explicit about the theory makes it easier to read someone else's work or to conduct the research. Because of theory, it is easier to read someone else's results or to conduct the research. And awareness of how theory fits into the research process produces better design, easier to understand, and better conducted studies. Why it is important to fit a theory? If researcher is aware how to fit the theory, it helps the researcher to produce a better design. He could define his variable properly, easier to understand, and better conducted studies. Then it would be easier for the researcher to conduct the research, and he or she could conduct the research in a better way. Any researcher devoid of a theoretical basis and based completely on the empiricism is most of the time not accepted completely. It is important that research should be based on the theory. If a research is devoid of the theoretical concepts, if there is no theoretical concept and totally based on the empiricism, then at times you cannot accept that research completely. There are certain elements of theory. There are building blocks elements of or the building blocks of the theories are concept. First element is concept, second is variable, third is statement, and the format. These four elements forms a theory: concept, a variable, statement, and format forms a theory. Now what is concept? Theories are built from the concepts. Concepts are the structured form of definition, right? It enables researcher to see the same thing and to understand what it is that is being studied. Concept is nothing but the structured form of the definition, and it helps the researcher to understand what is being studied. It helps them to frame their title or the research work. Second is a variable. The concept of scientific theory should denote that the variable feature of the world. In social sciences, it refers to attributes which are fixed for each thing but which are observed to be at different levels, amount, or strength across the samples or other aggregate groups. Right? Variable is nothing but anything. See, it is fixed, but it is observed at a different level. Let me explain it with example. Like age, class, race, all these are variables. It is fixed for an individual. Age is fixed for an individual. Although it is not fixed, it changes with time. Variable, in simpler term, if you want to understand variable, variable is anything which is not constant. Changes with time, changes with situation, changes with place. Right? That is variable. Your age could be a variable, your class could be a variable, religion could be a variable, gender could be a variable, right? Your job satisfaction could be a variable, stress could be a variable, right? Then next is the important feature of variable is that it is capable of reflecting variation within the population and is not constant. As I told you, it is not constant. Variable, it varies with the time. As the name indicates, it is variable, it varies with time, it varies with situation, it varies with place, right? Anything which is not constant is a variable. Next is statement and format. Elements of theory, statement and format. What is statement and what is format? The concept of theory must be connected to each other, and this connection between the concept is is make the theoretical statement. Concept is the first part of the theory. Now these concepts should be interrelated. There must be a relationship between these concepts, right? There must be a connection between the concepts, and this makes the theoretical statement. Statement is the interlinking between the concept is the statement. When these theoretical statements are grouped together, they constitute the theoretical formats. When these statements are grouped together, they form the format. So there are the four things about the theory, four elements of the theory. The first is the concept, the second is variable, third is statement and format. What is concept? Concept is the structured form of the definition, right? Structured form of the definition. Variable, anything which the values of the variable changes with time. And third and fourth is structure and statement and the format. The relationship between the concept is the statement, and the group statement forms the format, and these all makes a theory, right? Theory and ideology. Theory and ideology both contain assumptions about the nature of social world. Both contain assumptions. They both focus on what is or is not important in it, and contains a system of ideas or concepts and specify relationship among the concept. Theories and ideology contain assumptions. Both focuses on what is important and what is not. It is, as I told you, it is nothing but the assumptions, concepts, ideas, and specify it's both specifies the relationship between the concepts, whether it is theory or ideology. Both explain why things are the way they are and what needs to change to alter the condition. Why something is like this, and if you want to change something, what should be done if you want to alter the conditions of the change, or if you want to change the situations. And ideology is quasi theory that lack a critical feature required to be a true scientific theory. It's a theory, but it's a quasi theory. Why it's a quasi theory? It lack a critical feature. It has a fixed, strong, and unquestioned assumption. Ideology, because it is my ideology, right? It is fixed, strong, and unquestioned assumption. It is unquestioned assumption. You cannot question it. Why this is your ideology? This is my ideology. That's it. You cannot question anyone's ideology. It is a theory, but it's a quasi theory. It's an unquestioned assumption. It's a fixed, strong, and unquestioned assumption. Ideologies selectively presents and interprets the empirical evidence. They use personal experience or conviction that fall short of scientific approach, right? It is why how ideologies develops because of the personal experiences or the convictions. It lacks scientific approach. That's why it's a quasi theory. It is difficult to test ideological principle or confront them with opposing evidences. You cannot retest the ideological principles, but you can retest the theoretical theories. A researcher can never show an ideology to its followers. Researchers should never show the ideology to the followers if he or she wants to carry out a true research or an unbiased research. A researcher is free to test a theory or its part and show them to be a false. You can retest the theory and can accept this theory or can reject that theory. Theory can be tested with empirical evidences and look at the relevant evidences both that support and opposes the theory. You can accept or reject the theory on the basis of empirical evidences. Right? Theories are always growing or developing to the higher level. Theory always goes up to the higher level. Theories that fail to develop or are replaced by the other theories. Theories do not claim to have all the answers. A theory is composed of an assumption and concept. It is composed of assumptions and concepts. Concepts vary from one another by their level of abstraction. Concepts vary with the level of abstraction. Now, what is research? Research is what is research? Research is nothing but a systematic, controlled, empirical, and critical investigation of hypothetical proposition about presumed relationship among natural phenomena. Understand what is research? It is a systematic, there is a system to carry out research. It is controlled, it is empirical and critical investigation. Empirical, controlled, critical investigation of what? Of hypothetical proposition, of an assumption, of the perception about the presumed relationship among natural phenomena. Right? Types of research. There are certain types of research. First is evaluation research. It is the most widely used among the applied researchers. Evaluation research. It uses several research techniques. If it can be used, the experimental technique is usually the most effective. It is the most effective type of the research. Second is, first was the evaluation research, second is action research. There are many forms of action research. Those who are being studied participate in the research process. They are value loaded and not value neutral. It means research subject under study are value loaded, not value neutral. Action researchers assume that the knowledge develops from the experience, particularly the experience of socio-political action. Social impact of assessment research. What is the social impact? Its purpose is to estimate the likely consequences of planned change. What would be the consequences of the changes? And the second is such assessment can be used for planning and making choices among the alternative policies. Right? You can choose one of the best available alternative from one of the alternative from the available alternatives. What is the nature and purpose of research? The purpose of research is to investigate about a particular subject that has significance for the researcher in order to discover the new subject or to verify the existing knowledge. Right? The purpose is to verify the existing knowledge or to explore or to find out the new knowledge. The basic purpose of researcher is to generate the new knowledge. Exploration. Research explores the reality. Exploration provides us with the insight into the understanding of the problem confronting the researcher, and exploratory research should be creative, open minded, and flexible and explore open sources of information. That's all for today. We'll continue with this in our next lecture. Thank you very much. Namaskar.